screen and please let me know when we're live. Hello, YouTube. Good morning. I hope everyone is doing well. We got a lot to get into today because it's a day ending in Y in America. And so we're going to do that thing that we got to do. So we just had a wonderful conversation with Rick Martin of DigiDrop LA for another edition of our Mogul Mondays. Shout out to him. And Mogul Mondays are a segment that we kicked off really with an eye towards recognizing that a whole lot more of us are going to have to be moving into entrepreneurial ventures right now. I am one of them by choosing, fortunately, that is somewhat different than a lot of other folks who have found themselves forced into an entrepreneurial role that they perhaps did not intend. But however you find yourself, that is where you are. And so shout out to Rick Martin of DigiDrop LA for helping us to understand the importance of the legalities of protecting your entrepreneurial ventures, the emotion behind your brand, and making sure that you are in alignment. Because there's nothing worse than trying to be an entrepreneur when you are out of sync with the very thing you are trying to entrepreneur. So there's that. I want to get into some news today because there are some important deadlines that those of you who receive your health care from the Affordable Care Act need to be aware of. Now, I saw over the weekend, and again, I discussed way more of this in more detail in the podcast episode, and the podcast is called Lurie Breaks It Down, which is available anywhere you get your podcast. And for those of you who are following this on YouTube, please remember to like, subscribe, and to share. Apparently, I don't say that enough. I've been getting yelled at for not saying that enough. So please like, subscribe, and share the videos and do all the things that you can do to help promote the conversation that we're having here. But if you are somebody who gets your health care coverage through the Affordable Care Act, you should just know that over the weekend we saw another survey that basically said 70% of the people believe that the Affordable Care Act is amazing. They love the Affordable Care Act. 30% of the people, not so much. But then we also got in the same survey an inside that said 70% of the people also do not like Obamacare. Obamacare, bad. Affordable Care Act, good. Now, what we know, because we are intelligent people here and we read, what we know here is that the Affordable Care Act is Obamacare. And the only reason people don't like Obamacare is because of the blackness. But that's okay. You who believe in cutting off your nose to spite your face, we even have some information for you as well. But if you are somebody who gets your Affordable Care Act or your Obamacare, which you might like or not like, depending on how it's called, you need to know that if your health care plan starts on January the 1st, then you got until today to make your decision. And that's a really challenging situation because so many of you have realized that your health care insurance premiums have skyrocketed. And I saw several videos over the weekend, one of which I talk more extensively about in the podcast, where basically very well-to-do white women are now coming online looking very well-to-do and like they do not have a financial care in the world, perhaps even of the trad wife variety. And they are posting about the fact that they can't afford their health care plans. And I'm watching them. I'm like, wait a minute, you don't look like you're struggling at all. But it's even hitting middle-class people. It has been sort of framed as something that has been negatively impacting poor working-class people. This is a upper middle-class reality because people who think they upper middle class really are the working class. You just don't know it because in this country we don't like to admit things about class reality. But there's a lot of people right now who do not have access to the additional funds they are going to need to pay for their health care. And so I would encourage you to speak with your health care navigators in your state. And that's a really important thing to do for those of you who have questions about this. But unfortunately for you, the Trump administration, because they believe affordability is a hoax, the Trump administration earlier this year in February cut the funding for the federal health care navigator system, the people who are based in your state, who understand how your healthcare policies are supposed to work, who understand who's eligible, who's not eligible, what would increase your eligibility, what would decrease your eligibility. They decreased the funding for the healthcare navigators by 90%, from $100 million down to $10 million. So who needs affordability? That's all a hoax. But you should be aware that this is going to be a huge issue, and it's really hitting Republican-led states very, very hard because, as you may recall, Republican-led states tend to be the welfare states, which means they receive more benefits from the federal government than their tax dollars pay into the federal government. I do not live in a welfare state. I live in a blue state, which means that we spend more money helping the federal government help the rest of y'all who live in welfare states than we receive back from the federal government. We're going to talk about why that happens and on some other point, in some other episode. But you should just know that this is a very important deadline for those of you who, if your health care plan begins on January the 1st. Now, if your health care plan begins on February the 1st, you have a few more weeks yet to decide and figure out what you're going to do. But you really need to log in. And this can't be one of them situations where you just like, I'm just not going to continue with my healthcare plan. It's just going to cancel. This shit don't automatically cancel, right? You will have an auto draft for the increased price of your new healthcare premiums if you do not log in and figure out what it is that you're going to do next. Now, you might live in a state like Texas where we're seeing reports where entire healthcare insurance plans have completely exited the market entirely. I learned that Aetna has completely vacated their participation in the state of Texas. And so if you are in one of those plans that's no longer eligible or is no longer available in your state, what the algorithms may do is automatically enroll you into the one that's comparable. And if you are automatically enrolled into the one that's comparable, that means you're also going to be getting charged. You're going to be getting charged the premium, the increased premium that you may or may not actually be able to afford. So you need to log into the system. You need to try to find a healthcare navigator if you can. But again, keep in mind that because they cut it by 90% because affordability is a hoax and we don't need anything to be affordable. But basically, you folks are feeling it right now. They're really feeling it right now because they're coming to the hard reality that not only do you not have a party in power that actually has a plan, their concepts of plans suck. Their concepts of healthcare plans actually suck. And we know that because it has been 11 years that the Republicans have been talking about wanting to do away with the Affordable Care Act, which they would call Obamacare anytime they wanted to talk shit about it. But they ain't got a plan. We know they ain't got a plan because last week, what did they do? They went to work to try to vote on a plan. They ain't got a plan, which means people ain't got health care. Now, you could just do universal payer or you could do universal free health care because every other country against which America compares itself has figured out how to be able to afford health care for their people. I don't know why this country can't do it. Actually, I do know why. It's the racism, because every time this country has had an opportunity to have affordable health care for all, a universal health care plan, the whites who are racist said, well, we just can't do that because that means the blacks are also going to get access to health care. And one thing we cannot do is abide by the blacks having access to anything. So we're going to do the blacks just like we did to our pools. We're going to shut the pools down. We're going to shut down the schools because we would rather have no one learn how to swim. We would rather have no one get educated if it means we don't have to learn to swim with the blacks. And so they're just deciding to do that same thing with the healthcare community. And so there are 8 things that you need to watch out for when it comes to this open enrollment period. And this is an article that was put out by KFF, which identifies itself as the independent source for health policy research, polling, and news. Here are the 8 things you need to be aware of. 1, the first one I just shared with you, enhanced premium tax credits are expiring. They have expired as of today for those of you who have to sign up or make a decision today. The second thing you need to be aware of is that marketplace enrollees could have to repay more at tax time. If you are an enrollee who makes less than 400% of the federal poverty level and your income ends up being higher than you estimated at the time that you signed up, you might have to pay some of those excess premium tax credits on your taxes the following year. So you need to talk with your tax person about this because, child, it's going to be a whole ass mess. The third thing you need to be aware of is that program changes are going to result in more marketplace enrollees selecting higher deductible plans. So with the expiration of the premium tax credits, according to the report, a lot of the Obamacare enrollees are going to face higher monthly premiums, which we've already talked about. That means they're probably going to want to switch from their silver or gold plans to a bronze or a catastrophic plan. And if the name of your plan is called catastrophic, Jesus, I just need you to know that's not even really a plan, but it might be the only thing you can afford to get. The challenge, however, is that while you might get a cheaper catastrophic or bronze plan, you're going to have a much higher deductible. So you got to figure out what your tax plans are going to look like, what your financial plans are going to look like. And frankly, I would tell you to go talk to a healthcare navigator, but as we already discussed, they are no longer available widely. That's a shame. The fourth thing you need to be aware of is that the premium tax credit eligibility is going to be eliminated for certain immigrants. So if you are a part of the immigrant groups who used to get access to this healthcare by paying into it, now, baby, it ain't even going to be applicable for you. So make sure that you're aware of this because God forbid you think you go into the hospital to get something done or you go into the doctor's office to get something done medically. And then here come ICE showing up talking about you was trying to defraud the American healthcare system, which is full of fraud. Ask Rick Scott. Consumers with lower incomes can no longer sign up year round. There used to be a system where if you made less than $23,475 as an individual or $48,225 as a household of 4, if you made less than that, you could enroll in Medicare or in the marketplace at any time of year. That's no longer accessible anymore. So being poor is not going to get you health care at any other time of the year. You too are now limited to applying during this open marketplace period, which again ends today for those of you whose plans start on January the 1st. Again, I already talked about the loss of the navigator funding. If you are a DACA recipient, you are not going to be eligible to sign up for marketplace coverage at all. And some of the planned regulatory changes have been temporarily blocked by federal courts. But frankly, the courts has been a whole crock of shit, especially once it gets up to the Supreme Court. So all I'm saying is I'm sorry that this is happening. I voted the right way, so unfortunately for you, you can't blame me. But I voted for the woman who had a health care plan. I voted for a woman who was trying to expand health care. And unfortunately, those of you, many of you who are suffering now without access to health care either did not vote at all or voted for the wrong party. And unfortunately, those of you who voted for the right party, we just got outvoted by people who don't know things. And that's what it is to live in America, because America is kind of dumb. Let's get into some of the other issues that are going to be of importance. And talking about healthcare, let's do a little bridge between healthcare and disease, because baby, the measles is back. And oddly enough, Fox News is now coming to grips with the fact that part of the reason the measles is back is because they, one, ain't got no real concept of a healthcare plan, or I should say they have no healthcare plan beyond just a concept. But two, we have quackadoodles who are in charge of our healthcare system right now. Quackadoodles like RFK Jr. I want you all to take a listen to this quote, to this clip. This is RFK Jr., who is being talked about on Fox News. Fox News now having conversations, honest conversations about the nature of measles outbreaks in South Carolina. Let's take a listen to this clip.
More than 250 residents in Spartanburg County, South Carolina are in quarantine due to a major measles outbreak. The state's Department of Health confirming 111 active cases. This marks the second U.S. measles surge this year, with 1,912 cases so far, a more than 14,000% increase from 2020. Fox News medical contributor Dr. Nicole Saphier joins us now with the latest. Good morning to you, Dr. Saphier.
Good morning, Ainsley.
Good morning. What is causing all of this? This is where I was born, in Spartanburg. This is very concerning.
Absolutely. Lots of evidence of community spread of measles, not just on the East Coast, but throughout the country as well. We're seeing rising numbers. As you have mentioned, hundreds of kids and people have been infected, even more in quarantine. And to be honest, this is somewhat expected as we see declining vaccination rates. The United States is in jeopardy of losing the elimination status of measles for the first time since 2000, once it was declared. Canada just lost their elimination status this year, and they have vaccination rates of about 82%, much lower than the United States. But the reality is, Ainsley, we have seen our MMR vaccine rates go from 95 to 92% in just the last 5 to 6 years. When I said during COVID that the Biden administration's CDC was the biggest single risk factor for vaccine hesitancy in the United States, I was not mincing words. And because of the mishandling of COVID, we started to see even a bigger decline in vaccination rates. Unfortunately, the way things are going right now with the CDC and the current vaccination advisory committees, we're seeing even more mistrust and confusion. And so I expect that we're going to see further declines in vaccination rates, and we're going to see more measles cases. Lots of cases in Canada, lots of cases in measles, and we're in the middle. Usually we are protected by high vaccination rates, but as they decline, we will see more community transmission here in the United States.
It's a real shame that we're here. It's a real shame because this is preventable. The other thing about measles that we have to remember is that measles doesn't just impact you for the 3 weeks of quarantine that you need. Measles also wreaks havoc on your immune system's memory, which means that as your immune system is now debilitated because you have been exposed to measles and you're fighting that virus, your immune system has forgotten what all the other colds and flus and bacteria and viruses that you've experienced before. It's forgotten all of the ways to fight off those things. So while you are in a debilitated health state, you're now facing those whatever is coming at you next in terms of sickness and disease with an immune system that is as fresh as a newborn babe's, which means that you are going to be more exposed to the challenges of maintaining health, which it's not going to end well for you. So those of you who have decided, you know what, I'm not getting a vaccine at all, if that's where you're at, that's fine. That's your business. At least protect yourself. Care enough about yourself to wear a mask. I know people don't like wearing masks, but it's like, what you want to do, Cletus? What you trying to do, Vern? You want to get the measles or you don't want to get the measles? Now, what's interesting enough is that in South Carolina, on Friday, they confirmed an additional 15 cases of the measles since Tuesday. And this is all coming out of those holiday gatherings where people were coughing and sneezing and sniffling into their sticky, yucky finger, hands and boogers and spreading germs and disease all over the place. Now, what we also know is that of the people, as the cases have risen to 126, 119 of those 126 people who are confirmed in South Carolina did not have a vaccine at all. 3 of them had only been partially vaccinated, and 1 of them was fully vaccinated, and the status of the other 3 remains yet unknown. So I'm just saying, you could argue with the science, you could argue with the mask makers, or you could argue with measles. That's pretty much where we're at. Y'all gonna have to figure out what you want to do. As for me and mine, we have been vaccinated, but Vaccines are not like Wakanda vibranium. You don't get to put on a vaccine and like Wakanda forever. You are like healed. Like, no, the idea is that you have herd immunity. So if all of us have, or if the numbers of us who have vaccines have increased, then we are able to keep each other safe, even if you are exposed to the measles. But who am I? I'm just somebody who be having our medical experts every damn week. We have a whole routine checkup segment every week. We do this. We do this all the time. But what do I know? I just talk to the experts who do know these things. So just be aware that that is happening. Also got some really tragic news over the weekend about what happened at Brown University. I don't often talk about mass shootings in this country, because they happen all the time. We've had over 320 mass shootings this year. I think we've had almost as many mass shootings as we have had days in the year, with the exception of just a few. So I don't often get a chance to talk about mass shootings because, again, I'd be talking about them all the time. But in this particular case, I want to talk about it because it gives you an example as to just how what's the word I want to use? Fuckery. Just how much fuckery we are dealing with as a nation because of the leadership of the FBI. Now, in the podcast, I stumbled and I said, I think this might be the worst FBI director we don't ever have. But then I remembered, no, we had Herbert Hoover, who headed up COINTELPRO. So he's definitely not the worst FBI director that we have ever had, but he is a really, really bad FBI director. I want you to listen to this clip. This is I think this is the chief of police talking about the fact that over the past 24 hours, and now 36 hours, we are in a situation where they thought they had the suspect. There were 9 people shot altogether, 9 people injured, 2 people who were killed as a result of this mass shooting. They thought they had him. They did not have them. And what they had instead was a hot-ass mess. So I want you all to take a listen. This is one of the leaders, this is out of Providence, Rhode Island. And I want you all to take a listen to this video where they basically talk about the fact that they thought they had the person because of the information they got from the FBI. But then what had happened was the head of the FBI was full of shit. Let's take a listen.
It was a tip that came in, just like we would take any other tips, and that one came in specifically identifying a person of interest, which was this individual. And so our detectives got on it, just like they got on others, but this specific one, it was actually picked up by the FBI, and they followed through with it, and they ended up coming and locating this individual of interest. And at that point, we did a thorough investigation, ended up drafting some search warrants, came up with some evidence, but that evidence was examined, and we didn't have enough, obviously, to be able to prosecute anybody, and so the person was released.
The person was released because they didn't have enough evidence. Sorry for y'all on YouTube, I was showing you the wrong clip. They didn't have enough evidence because the person had to be released. Because the person who they had been told was responsible for the shooting, whose name had been put out, right? Name put out, like everybody knew who he was. His name has been circulating. Why? Because of the FBI. Kash Patel provides the tip to the police about the person of interest. He then posts about it on Twitter. He did a full-ass victory lap about it. And then basically within less than 1 day, it took the Lord a whole day to make the heavens and the earth. It took less time than that for them to realize that this man ain't know what the hell he was talking about. And as noted by Ron Filikowski, everyone in this administration, from the president on down, rushes to social media to put things out rather than acting responsibly and prudently, always looking to declare victory while seeking praise. And Kash Patel literally had put out on his Twitter an update on the FBI response at Brown University. FBI Boston established a command post to intake, develop, and analyze leads and run them to ground. We activated the FBI Cellular Analysis Survey team to provide critical geolocation capabilities. As a result, early this morning, FBI Boston's Safe Streets Task Force, with assistance from the U.S. Marshals Headquarters and the Coventry, Rhode Island Police Department, detained a person of interest in a hotel room at Coventry, Rhode Island, based off the lead by the Providence, Rhode Island PD. All of that was wrong. All of that was wrong. He was wrong. And the police chief basically just had to throw them under the bus. Amina, do we have the clip of the brother with the one with the gray sweater that we were talking? Let's hear this clip. I want you all to pay attention because these people don't know things. They do not know things. I want you to take a listen to this clip. This is the mayor and the head of police. Again, we're going to just do the mayor because we could just do the first one because I know we're running short on time. I want y'all to listen to this. They had to throw the FBI back under the bus because the FBI was trying to throw them under the bus, and all of them deserve to be under the bus because they're very, very terrible at what they do. Take a listen.
Shortly, we will be releasing the person of interest who had been detained earlier today, and the Attorney General can speak a little bit about the rationale for that, but we want to inform the community that that individual will shortly be released from Providence Police. We know that this is likely to cause fresh anxiety for our community. And we want to reiterate what we said earlier, which remains true, which is ever since the initial call, now a day and a half ago, we have not received any credible or specific threats to the Providence community. And so the status of safety in our community remains unchanged. And we believe that you remain safe in our community, though we will continue to have an enhanced police presence throughout the city and on the Brown campus.
Just got off the phone.
Let's just pause
with
it
the
there,
mayor.
because I can't even. This is what it looks like when you have fools in charge of your government. And this is what it looks like when you have people who are WEI hires, white, entitled, and incompetent. Now, just for those of you who are joining us for the first time or who might be new to me or this channel or this show, I want you to be clear that I coined the phrase white, entitled, and incompetent, WEI, for just such a time as this. Because what was happening after the 2024 election was that overly qualified black people, overly qualified people of color were being removed from positions, kicked out of positions, not because they had failed in some way, but because the racist decided that now's the time, Vern, seize the day, let's have a laissez-faire with the racism. And they basically decided that we don't care about data, we don't care about statistics, we don't care about information, we just want them to be white. Whoever is in charge, we want them to be white. So we are going to get rid of a General Lloyd Austin, who has got, 4-star general, who had run the military and entire theaters, entire hemispheres of the world, where he had been in leadership, had been trained, had come up through the ranks and understood what needed to be done. Let's take him, who's got the expertise on how to do this thing, and let's replace him with P. His own mama say he's trash, allegedly a murderer, and definitely a war criminal, to the extent that we're actually going to war and not just diverting ourselves with information about war, really to distract people from the Jeffrey Epstein files. But let's replace a General Lloyd Austin with a Pete, his own mama say he's trash, Hexeth. Let's replace all of the people who are qualified experts at their jobs, who also happen to be black, and replace them with the worst white person we can find. Let's take even the qualified whites who are not in alignment with our white Christian nationalist view of the world, like the attorney who was in the leadership at the Virginia Department of Justice Division, where he was kicked out, and so were every single one of the career prosecutors who refused to participate in Pamela Bondi's bullshit-ass exercise trying to come after James Comey, the former head of the FBI, who himself deserves to be driven up underneath some buses because of what he did during the 2016 election, or against the New York State Attorney General, Letitia James. And let's replace those qualified prosecutors who know what the law is and who are not willing to participate in the fuckery, and let's replace them with a Lindsay Halligan or an Alina Habba, two white women who would not know how to find a courtroom, find an argument, introduce evidence, or do any of the other things that lawyers actually have to do. Put them in positions and watch them fuck it up royally. I want you all to take a listen to this clip. This is a sister who I saw on Instagram, and this is a sister who was talking about the ways in which, as it pertains to diversity, equity, and inclusion, these people are willing to cut off their nose to spite their face. And I want you to listen to this clip because I think it's important for us to be crystal clear about what it is we are facing right now. And what it is we're facing right now are people who, quite frankly, need to do a whole lot better when it comes to doing this work, but who are really, 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 really bad at their jobs. And now I'm trying to find the clip so I can, did I send you the clip? I sent it. Okay, good. I want you all to take a look at this video clip because this, to me, embodies everything that we need to be aware of when it comes to how we move forward. This idea that we should be in a situation where, or that we're in a situation where we have to recognize that we are dealing with people who would rather be stupid and wrong and inaccurate and erroneous if it means that they just get to be white. Because there's a message here for the rest of us. I want you all to take a listen to this clip. This is shared by No Niche Pod Zone, or No Niche Zone Pod. Take a listen.
For white men, they don't care if the quality goes down as long as white men are running it. And they're saying to all of us in this country, we don't care that the quality of the businesses that we provide, the quality of the services that you get from us, we don't care if that goes down as long as all we see are white men in these boardrooms. White people will shoot themselves in the foot. They are the definition of cutting off your nose to spite your face. We have facts statistics that prove the benefits of diversity, inclusion. And it's not just about, quote unquote, affirmative action, making sure that we're hiring fairly. It's also about programs that teach people about bias, things like that. I mean, it's so much deeper than just hiring, as they say, oh, just DEI hires. It's so much deeper than that. And there's even more benefits. You take the time and look it up. So this isn't an issue of merit. This isn't an issue of, white men do it better. This is an issue of white men saying they only want to work with white men. And that is it. And they are willing to throw everybody under the bus, including themselves. They're willing to sacrifice quality. They're willing to sacrifice quality just so that it's other white men in the boardroom with them.
That was Priscilla Davies of No Niche Zone Pod. And I encourage you all to follow her, subscribe, do all the things, because what she said there was so very important. And I wanted to conclude with this because I think it's really important for us to recognize that for those of you who have been kicked out, thrust out, passed over, abused, mistreated at the workplace, you have been seen as just a DEI hire. We know that the data tells us that when you have a diverse, equitable, and inclusive workplace, you're going to do better for your shareholders. You're going to do better in terms of the product market. You're going to do better for your customers. We know that on every single metric that we were told matters to these people, you are going to have a much more profitable, happier workforce. Everyone's going to be able to thrive. What has happened over the course of this year as a result of the Trump administration and the unleashing of white nationalism, white Christian nationalism to be specific, has been basically what you see there. They don't want the best. They don't want the brightest. They don't want the smartest. They just want other white men's in the workplace. But what that means for the rest of us is that they have taken the most educated, the most emotionally intelligent, the highest IQ holders, the most rational, the most intuitive. They have taken the best elements of their workforce and said, we don't need you no more. We got Clem and Vern. We don't need you, Lakeisha. We don't need you, Tijana. We don't need you, Rakim. We don't need you no more because we got Clem and Vern. And we'd rather go down with Clem and Vern than to go up with all of you, especially because most of y'all is N-words. But what that means for the rest of us, because some of us have been at home licking our wounds. We've been upset. This is one of the reasons why we have been having the Mogul Mondays segments. What that means for the rest of us is that you are a part of the most educated, most prepared team that there is. Which means that when you are in competition against the white men who have decided the only qualification that they need is to be white men, that means your brilliance, your excellence, your over-preparation, the fact that you would spend hours rehearsing and preparing things that they would just roll out of bed and not even think twice about, which is why you would always show up looking better than them, making them look awful, and they couldn't handle that. What it really means is you got team mediocrity going up against team excellence. You got team white, entitled, and incompetent being their only qualifications going up against some of the most educated people on the planet. I want you to pat yourself on the back because the fact that they kicked you off of their team means that, one, you are doing exactly what it is that you need to do. But it also means that as we move forward, we need to remind ourselves as to what the nature of the game is here. Let the white, entitled, incompetents have their own little playing team. Let them go ahead and do that. You take the same skills that you cultivated, that allowed you to be the best in your division, that allowed you to be so good you had to train everyone who came in underneath you and then had to sit up underneath their dumbasses as they were your supervisors. Let's take all the excellence that you had that was making them corporations goo gobs of money and employ it for ourselves. You've been kicked off of team mediocre. I need you to thrive while being on team excellent, because when the teams meet again on the playing field, baby, ain't gonna be no competition, but you let Clem and Vern have it. Let them have their mediocrity. What we got over here is team excellence. Now, we're at the end of our show today, so as I say all the time, whenever I'm concluding that show, I need you all to do three things. Number one, I need you to figure out how your purpose aligns with the needs of our people and walk in it with your back straight. I need you to tap into your Harriet Tubman, Marcus Garvey, Nat Turner love, so you learn to love us harder than you were taught not to, learn to create pathways of opportunity for those who need it, and learn to uphold and defend the sanctity of our lives. And then finally, find as many good things as you possibly can to do, and do as many of them as you can, including thriving. That's all we do over here. All I do is win, and thrive. We thrive. That's what